you guys. Welcome back.
Today we are doing something completely different. Today we are diving into a Starfield mod that is basically changed. There are cases of the Mandela effect everywhere. Is the Mandela effect the only plausible reason why Trump managed to win back in 2016? Pop stars, kings, and
People are
secret agents?
stupid.
They're all here. The memory can really play tricks, and the Mandela effect only makes things worse.
Mandela effect is bullshit.
The Mandela effect is a mind-expanding phenomenon with a simple premise. That reality is being distorted so we humans can't remember things the way they were. Who came up with it? Paranormal researcher Fiona Broome, who figured the iconic Nelson Mandela had died in prison in the 1980s. Pretty crazy considering he was freed in 1990 and became president of South Africa. And she realized that she wasn't the only person who thought of this. Hence, the legend of the Mandela effect was born. It's since been applied to all kinds of things in our culture. I'm Mike with List25, and here are 25 things that prove the Mandela effect exists. 25. Death of Neil Armstrong. You don't need a channel like ours to tell you who Neil Armstrong is. He was famously the first man to step onto the lunar surface back in 1969. Here's a question for you, though. Do you know when Neil Armstrong died? He left this planet, so to speak, in 2012. However, the news bypassed a bunch of people who actually believed he died later on. Armstrong may have gone to the moon, but these days he's caught in the gravitational pull that is the Mandela effect. There is positive news in that he got his own movie biopic in 2008.
Neil Armstrong. Neil Armstrong. Fucking idiots. I'm definitely gonna call. Bullshit. 40, 50. Okay. 82 years old. Okay. 2012. I don't know. They do that shit on purpose. I do know that. Fucking idiots.
18 starring Ryan Gosling. You've got to be pleased with that casting. And it could only lead to more people finding out about his extraordinary life, not to mention, you know, when he passed away. 24. Mother Teresa. If one name is associated with the milk of human kindness with big asterisks and the power of doing good deeds, then it's surely Mother Teresa of Calcutta. Working tirelessly until her passing until 1997, she devoted her life to the poorest in society and was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. You'd think someone like this would reach the level of sainthood quite quickly. Yet when it comes to her canonization, in other words, the time she was officially made a saint, the truth is not an old school mobile device with the recommended date of pre-2008 to shoot footage of things like food thought police. He uses an old school mobile device with the 23. Old phones. A particularly striking example of the Mandela effect is the How to See into a Parallel Dimension series on TikTok, made by a user called the Thought Police. He uses an old school mobile device with the recommended date of pre-2008 to shoot footage of things like food packaging, movie clips, and more to reveal a supposedly hidden truth. With these highly watchable videos, it appears as if he's shifting us into another reality, or jumping into another time. He's certainly caught the imaginations of many fellow social media users, like this YouTuber who was astonished by revelations about SpongeBob SquarePants. On another undersea note, who certainly caught the imaginations of many fellow social media users. With these highly watchable videos, it appears as if he's shifting us into another reality, or jumping into another time. He's certainly caught the imaginations of many fellow social media users, like this YouTuber who was astonished by revelations about SpongeBob SquarePants. On another undersea note, let's take a deep dive into the Mandela effect. There's nothing more likely to get people's attention than food, am I right? So, keep watching for a tasty story. 22. Oreos. Just saying the word Oreos makes me hungry. Double stuffed Oreos especially, because you get
they're
more
okay,
of that
but
creamy goodness. That said, there's actually a secret about this type of Oreo that'll blow your mind. And it's a secret hiding in plain sight. All you need to do is pick up a packet and look. You might be wondering what I'm talking about, but pay real close attention to the packet and the logo. It says double stuff, not stuffed. Plus, things get weirder with the fact that stuff only has one F. So, what gives? Analysis has shown that in order for the name to make sense to your brain, it should read double stuffed instead of stuff. So, that's the way you read it. As for the spelling stuff with one F, well, that isn't clear. But it got the company out of a jam when a lawsuit was brought on accusing them of misleading customers. This case was based on the product not containing double the amount of stuff. The makers of Oreos argued that stuff, S-T-U-F, was an invented word referring to double the pleasure rather than any strict measurement. Interesting move there, guys. I'm not going to stop eating Oreos, though. 21. Overwatch. The Mandela effect and games overlap quite often. Monopoly. Everyone thought had a monocle, but that later. Meanwhile, in the world of Overwatch, of things, you have Pikachu's tail, which I'll get to later. Meanwhile, in the world of Overwatch, another story developed. Gamers were on the edge of their seats with the news that a secret connection existed between the characters of Mercy and Reaper. This excitement came through an exchange of dialogue, where it sounded like Mercy had been involved in Reaper's backstory. Sadly for fans, this turned out to be a group delusion, and the dialogue didn't actually exist. They might be interested in the Mandela Effect card game, though. I love Overwatch. Who's your main? Let me know. And if you're on Overwatch, jump on. I'll play with you. I haven't played in a while, though. Ever since Overwatch 2 came out. It's not been as... more pay to play rather than fun. 20. Fruit of the Loom. In case you're not aware, Fruit of the Loom...
yeah, I remember when I was a kid they did have that. Fucking idiots.
...to the conversation in the first place. 19. Forgetful Fruit. Staying on the topic of juicy produce, we're talking about Fruit Loops. This product has a definite connection to actual fruit, though in cereal form. It's a staple of breakfast tables everywhere. But, you know how to spell it. The answer is loopier than you think. You probably believed, as I did, that Kellogg's went for the standard F-R-U-I-T. Well, it turns out we've been wrong-footed by the Mandela effect. Sounds cheesy. I love how many times have you heard someone say Cheez-Its and pushed by money-hungry villains. They're helped in their efforts by a group of strange little robots from outer space. It was a charming movie. The tenants won the day and everything seemed pretty neatly wrapped up. But wait, did they decide to give this crazy bunch of characters a sequel? Many people believe there was a second chapter titled Battery Still Not Included. This is very strange because the movie simply isn't a thing. It does not exist. However, online commentators talk about it as if they watched it. 16. Captain Pugwash.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure. Batteries Not Included sequel. Was there a sequel to Batteries Not Included?
The exploits of British TV cartoon character Captain Pugwash are legendary.
I see this one.
Becomes an adult in his sleep. As you probably recall, the movie ends with the grown-up Hanks changing back into a child again. At least that's how some of you remember it. The Mandela effect has led a bunch of fans to believe things panned out a little differently. The Hanks character still goes back to being a kid. In their minds, however, so does the lovely lady he meets during the course of the movie. She manages to become a child as well, presumably so romance can blossom. Firstly, wow. That's a fairly warped conclusion if I've ever heard one. Secondly, it's not true. The memory can really play tricks, and the Mandela effect only makes things worse. 9. Casablanca. So much dancing around during our live performances that it isn't feasible to carry a microphone while you're doing it. I'm not an iconic pop princess myself, as you may have noticed, so I'm speculating, but you can see why she uses them. And by this point, you've no doubt guessed that Britney's subject to the Mandela effect, just like I thought America only had 50, and you'd be right to be confused. To reassure you, you haven't missed anything. Officially, America has 50 states.
Yeah.
Though having said that, the Mandela effect plays havoc with people's perceptions. Some think there are a couple more states out there, bringing the grand total to 52. What are these stragglers? One is Washington, D.C., which is in fact a district, not a state.
Exactly.
The other is Puerto Rico. That falls under the tricky title of an unincorporated territory, which is also not a state. Whilst you can usually have a good chuckle at people who are misunderstanding the world around them via the Mandela effect, it's more understandable in this particular case, I'd say. But if you're ever in doubt, just count the stars on the flag. Or sing that amazing
Idiot. What the fuck is
But
wrong
if
with
you're
you?
ever in doubt, just count the stars.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 3 is 24. 3 is 27. 3 is 24. 44. 9 times 3 is 27. 8 times 3 is 24.
On the flag. Or sing that amazing 50 Nifty United States song to yourself, which has every state. Learn that in elementary school. So, are there any other examples of the Mandela effect you think we should have covered?
Lucky day, huh? She's 9 years old.
Get your minds in the fucking gutter. They didn't have their minds in the gutter in the 80s as much as people do now.
Hey friends. So the other day I was scrolling through Instagram. Cooking and meal planning and shopping. These bad boys are literally ready in 2 minutes and there's absolutely... And like the rest of the show, it's just quite uncomfortable because really what we're doing is watching a little girl dancing in a leotard in a grimy basement in front of 3 grown men and 2 pervy hosts. The drummer and the piano player are like kind of watching. The trumpet player just looks down the entire time. Probably the only one that was like, does anybody else feel like a creep?
Can I have a kiss? Okay, thank you.
Is she beautiful? But take this guy, for example, Wayne Rubin. Break that joke.
Out of the car. Can you get off of me? No.
Hold on, y'all.
Guys, welcome to Crosswind. This is the most anticipated pirate survival.
Save to.
Guys, welcome to Crosswind. This is the most anticipated pirate.
Me running after an arm.
I want to check some of these videos out. Be patient with me.
Just delivered another jaw-dropping performance at the Queensland Athletics Championships 2025, continuing his relentless assault on the record books that has even the legendary Usain Bolt taking notice. The 17-year-old Australian sprint sensation battled through challenging conditions to dominate the under-20 100-meter final with a time that would make elite senior athletes envious, further cementing his status as track and field's next global superstar.
Oh, here, Gap. He's already got the stagger, so he moves right off the safe spread, and now we really start to open him up. So let the legs loose and let the kid run. He is absolutely gone. He is down off this world. 29.07.
Despite facing rain-soaked tracks and unfavorable wind in Brisbane on Saturday, Gout crushed the Queensland Sport and Athletics Centre competition, clocking an impressive 10.38 seconds to claim the under-20 100-meter title. This wasn't just a narrow victory.
The Titanosaur creek should be right across this valley. Herbivores, right?
What? Hold on a second.
The Titanosaur creek should be right across this valley. Herbivores, right?
What?
That's good. But the things that hunt them aren't. Oh, great. Quiet.
Tail that long. That's bullshit. That dinosaur did not exist. I don't know, tail that big, it just looks so stupid.
Rudolph Fentz vanished into thin air right in front of everyone's eyes.
Yep, I see 3. Odds are there's a 4th. Because those things generally run in pack of 4s. Ooh, sticks. I'm all shiny and loot lusty. Ooh, sticks. And sticks count as loot. Oh, gosh, they really got this game down pat. When sticks are loot. Yep, I see 3. Odds are there's a 4th. Because those things generally run in pack of 4s. Ooh, sticks. I'm all shiny and loot lusty. Ooh, sticks. And
Shut up.
He asked me to do season 2, and they.
Why, hello. Thank you so much for joining me this Game Edge World Champion. Apologies for us again.
Now, this is quite a story from NASA because for the second time in history, a man-made object has left our solar system. NASA is saying the Voyager 2 probe.
She said, "Please, can you just convince him to let me go?" She said, "I'll." She said, "Please."
History of the Mandela Effect.
I love the first history met. They're going over 15 plus his.
I hate. That's such a lie.
The movies.
Mm-hmm.
Watch God strike down someone.
The movie.
Watch.
You want the hottest merch in the YouTube game? I know you do. It's that Bounty Hunter D merch. Click that. Yeah. Damn, Keith. Yeah, but I don't see a key.
Are these feeses?
Oh, what's going on? How you doing, my man? Oh, here, I got something for you. I know it was in your car. Just chill out. Hold on. This is a repo order from the state of Florida, bro.
It doesn't mean anything about coming in my car, though.
Yeah, it's a repo order from the state of Florida.
You don't have the right to
because
steal
your
and
car's
steal
from
someone's vehicle.
Texas, yeah, we know that you're a skip from Texas, so they sent me to repo your car.
Nobody said me to rebuild my car. My payments are just fine.
No, they're not.
No, sir. You owe
No.
for money.
Well, you can see how much
Nobody's coming in my car, though. We're not
Well,
going.
well, you think we're going to take the car?
Yeah, and I was already in your car too.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's right. So the last time you touched my car.
And
That's the
watch
last
that.
time you
But
touched
watch
my
that.
car. That's the last time you touched
Yeah,
my
but
car.
watch the hand. Though.
Watch what hand?
Watch the hand.
Watch all hands.
Watch the hand. Watch the hand. Yeah, watch the
I'm trying
hand.
to warn you, bro.
Yeah,
Like,
just
chill
watch
out.
the hand.
Like, chill out.
Yeah, just watch the hand.
Chill
So let me
out.
see what's going to
You
happen.
can listen to the boss because with me,
Stupid
it's
niggers.
different things.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a big dude, though. I like you. You'd be a good challenge for me.
He would.
You'd be a real good challenge.
There we go.
I mean, I'm not here to fight you,
I
though.
mean, of course not.
I'm
It's
not here to
gonna-
fight you.
Fucking niggers.
Take it. You take it. You better not ever put your hand up to a woman.
I'm gonna kill that nigger cunt.
Are you? Don't step to it. Don't step to it. Come on. Don't get this motherfucker. Get active. Get his ass down. Yeah.
These motherfuckers need to get their...
Say yes, sir. I apologize. Say yes, sir. Yes, sir. Say yes, sir. I apologize. Bitch ass. What's wrong with you? Nah, I'm getting up first. I'm getting up first.
Guys are fucking nigger.
Trust me.
Guys are fucking stupid. Idiots. You know what? Let's do this the right way. That dude needs to... I'll fucking murder you motherfuckers.
Watch the hand. Yeah, watch the hand. Yeah, just watch the hand. Yeah, just watch the hand.
Fucking monkey. Murder you fucking niggers. You step up, motherfucker. Fucking niggers. Fucking niggers. Fucking hate those goddamn monkeys.
Yeah, cause you tripping. Y'all know how that. You tripping. Don't be walking up behind me either. Don't be walking up behind me. You tripping. Oh, okay. You can get your out, bro. You can get your out. You can get your on. You can get your out.
You're on his property, you fucking cocksucker.
It's gonna go one way. Yeah, she got the best. Yeah, she got it all, right? Yeah, she got it all. So she might fight about it. You do that, right?
I fucking hate those niggers.
What's wrong with you? Nah.
I fucking hate niggers.
You can get my app. You gonna get my app? There you go. Stay tuned for the hunt.
That guy's a fucking monkey.
Yes. Here you go. You good? All right. I apologize. No, I like that. I like that better.
Shut up, nigger.
I like that.
I want to hit that motherfucker so goddamn hard.
You can make arrangements if you want. Or you can buy a new car. So it's up to you.
Have a good one, Mr. Have a good one. All right, we amped down. We amped down. Bounty Hunter D, stay tuned for the hunt. Get the app. I still want you to get my app, though, even though you got your ass whooped. I still want you to get my app. You gonna get my app? There you go. Stay tuned for the hunt.
What up? Shut up, nigger.
That's not my natural, you know what I'm saying? But you active as somebody put their hand to the... That's what I'm saying. Like, he thought he was good.
Fucking monkey. I hate those niggers. I hate those niggers. I fucking hate niggers. No, you don't step foot on their property. Get the fucking police involved. Fucking niggers. Fucking niggers, I hate niggers.
Stay tuned for the hunt.
Fucking niggers. Fucking hate those niggers. Can't wait till God destroys these motherfuckers. I hate them. Get the fuck out of here. You're a pussy. Shut up, pussy. I just put the E there, you fucking idiots. Quarantine. Oh. I just put the A there too. G-U-A-R-A-N-T-E-E. Ghost anyways, pussies. Fuck out of here. I'm gonna deal with those motherfuckers. What a cocksucking nigger. Enjoy the audio, you guys.
Because the Greek widow,
You know, I need to look up John Hagee.
Levers, because the Greek widows were being overlooked in the daily distribution of food. The 12 called a meeting of the disciples and
Will you please stand for the reading of God's Word? Turn to Matthew chapter 24. We'll read verses 1 through 3. As we gather here today, the headlines are screaming the message, quote, that Iran's supreme leader orders a direct attack on Israel. The possibility of an all-out war between Iran and Israel is a very real issue. 2,600 years ago, the headlines in the Bible written by the prophet. The next event of God's prophetic calendar is the rapture of the church, when all living believers on earth will be suddenly snatched away from this earth into heaven in the twinkling of an eye. Meantime, back on planet Earth, the world will be struggling to make sense of what has happened and scramble to recover from the vanishing of millions of people. Immediately after the rapture, a group of 10 men who are world leaders will come together to form what the Bible calls the renewal of the Roman Empire. It is actually what we call the New World Order. That will happen. This New World Order will instantly be formed by the Antichrist, who will come out of Europe and lead a reunited Roman Empire with a group of 10 leaders. America will yield its sovereignty to the New World as soon as you know it as a globalist organization. The Great Tribulation begins at this point. Here we are as the church. The church is translated into heaven at the judgment seat of Christ. The judgment seat of Christ is where each of you will give an account to God of the life that you live. You will be given a crown. There are 5 crowns that you can receive. You can tell what you did in life by the crown that you wear, just like military insignia on a military man's shoulder will tell you his rank. You will be able to know that by the crown that the people wear. First is the resurrection of the saints who have died, and then is the church triumphant. Why is the dead in Christ going first? Because Jesus comes giving the shout of victory. His victory is over death, hell, and the grave. When the last atom of the last body has been resurrected, the victory of Jesus Christ will be total over the grave. The Antichrist, as the leader of this new Roman Empire, will secure a peace accord. The world will celebrate him as the great peacemaker. The Bible says this. He will no doubt be given the Nobel Peace Prize, like Hitler. He will cause craft to prosper because that's what Hitler did. The 7-year peace treaty will lull Israel into a false security. On our next concept, Armageddon and the coming of Christ, 3.5 years after the God made God's war. Right there at the end of the tribulation is the Battle of Armageddon. It is the most vicious battle ever recorded in human history. A nation, China, bringing 200 million people to that place. The Battle of Armageddon is in play. A battlefield that's 180 miles long and 80 miles wide.
Tobias Singer talks about John Hagee. Oh god. Oh, this guy's a fucking idiot. Israelites are not black yet, damn nigger monkey. You guys got too much demonized shit in.
Before we even start this video, let's lay out when you see the number.
Account. No, you don't. It's an amazing thing. You don't have to comment about everything. Give your jaws a rest. To the religious, I say, don't judge someone because they sin differently from you. Ooh, that'll preach all by itself.
Yeah, you do.
It's an amazing thing. You don't have to comment.
Sadikir's life.
He was tearing the sheets and he was screaming, "Preacher, pray! I can feel the flames of hell! Pray!"
Shut up. Fucking idiotic shit.
Oh, this is the Hanukkah message. And that's why he's speaking here. He is here, but he no, it's good. This is the best thing. This is the best thing he could be doing. Because what he's doing is he wants to speak to be able to stop the message. It's not going to happen. It won't work. He wants to stand there so that you don't get it in there. They host a Messianic congregation on the Shabbat. It's a sent. In the King James, it'll say Lucifer. It doesn't say Lucifer. It's all nonsense.
Born on April 12, 1940,
He was raised in a home where Christianity was more than just a belief. It was a way of life. His father, William Bithell Hagee, was not only a minister, but also a living example of dedication to God. John fondly remembers the evenings when his family gathered around the Bible, not just reading its teachings, but applying them in their daily lives.
Okay.
These moments left a lasting impression on him,
So sorry, y'all.
shaping his character and instilling in him a deep commitment to his faith.
Okay, we need to go gather.
From an early age,
Get something to
he
eat.
felt a strong calling to serve, a passion that would continue to grow, inspiring his journey from a small-town boy to one of the most recognized religious figures in America.
Living in a lonely world.
John's path in education started in his hometown schools in Texas, where he stood out for his sharp mind and determined spirit. His commitment to learning was evident early on, setting the stage for a future filled with purpose. After finishing high school, he continued his studies at Trinity University in San Antonio, where he earned a Bachelor of Science degree. Determined to expand his knowledge further, he pursued advanced studies and obtained a master's degree in education from the University of North Texas. His time in higher education not only deepened his understanding of academics, but also strengthened his commitment to his faith. The combination of strong educational training and unwavering belief gave him the tools to step confidently into the world of ministry, equipping him to guide and inspire others on their own spiritual journeys.
And a Russian-led coalition of anti-Semitic nations that will join.
John Hagee's career began in 1966 when he founded a small church in San Antonio. This marked the first step in building his career, a journey characterized by passion and vision. From an initial small group of followers, he built a thriving community through inspiring sermons and steadfast leadership. In 1975, he founded Cornerstone Church, which would become one of the largest religious centers in the United States. With over 22,000 members and a seating capacity of 5,400 people, Cornerstone Church is not just a place of worship, but also a cultural and educational hub.
John Hagee Ministries is delighted to announce the birth of a vision that I have had for 50 years.
Beyond leading his church, John Hagee also founded John Hagee Ministries, an organization dedicated to sharing the gospel through television and radio. His sermons are broadcast on hundreds of channels and radio stations, allowing his message to reach millions across the globe. He also established Christians United for Israel, CUFI, a movement dedicated to supporting Israel, reflecting the strong connection between his faith and his political stance. Throughout his career, Hagee has experienced both great achievements and significant challenges. While his journey has been met with controversy, his unwavering commitment and deep belief have allowed him to persevere. His influence has extended far beyond the pulpit, making him one of the most recognized voices in the Christian world. From a childhood deeply rooted in faith to a lifetime of ministry and leadership, John Hagee has made a lasting impact on religious history, leaving behind a legacy that continues to shape modern Christianity. Legacy of faith and debate. John Hagee is more than a pastor. He is also a political voice, a figure of prophecy, and a key player in some of the most intense religious and social debates. Over the years, his image as a strong-willed evangelist who refuses to back.
I'm just iffy on that shit.
His outspoken nature and firm opinions have the most debated topics.
This right here might be the location. This right here might be the location of the Garden of Eden. This right here shows that this might be where Adam and Eve once lived.
Across the globe, something unusual is happening. Rivers once thought to be gone forever are reappearing in places that have long been dry. Images are surfacing, actual footage of flowing water cutting through parched earth, transforming desolation into life. But amidst the amazement, one question echoes louder than all the rest. Could these rivers be leading us back to the Garden of Eden? Before we continue,
If you're intrigued by stories that connect biblical truth with real-world discovery, please take a second to subscribe to this channel. Your support helps us continue exploring these powerful and thought-provoking mysteries. Now let's begin this journey, one that may change how you see Eden forever. Many people read the story of Eden and move on. But what if the Bible actually gave us a map? In Genesis, we're told that a river flowed out of Eden to water the garden. From there, it split into 4 separate rivers. These 4 rivers are named as the Pishon, the Gihon, the Tigris, and the Euphrates. We still know the locations of the Tigris and Euphrates. You can trace them on a modern map. They're real, living rivers. That fact alone should cause us to take the Bible seriously. This isn't a fantasy tale with make-believe lands. It speaks of real geography. So, if the Bible is accurate about 2 of the 4 rivers, why should we doubt its clues about the other 2? Let's break this down. The Pishon is said to flow through the land of Havilah, a place rich in gold. The Gihon, we're told, winds through the land of Cush. Now, Cush has traditionally been identified with Ethiopia and parts of Sudan. So one theory is that the Gihon might actually be the Nile. As for the Pishon, some have even claimed it could be the Ganges in India. Imagine that, an Eden stretching from Africa to India, covering the entire known ancient world. But if Eden truly spanned such a massive space, how could Adam and Eve be expelled from it? Wouldn't that suggest Eden is not the whole world, but rather a more specific place? That thought changed everything for me. Science tells us that the Earth once had a supercontinent, Pangaea. All the
Pangea, you idiot.
Before it broke apart into the continents we know today. Many scoff at this idea when it's linked to the Bible. But wait. What if the scattering of people after the Tower of Babel wasn't just about language, but also about geography? The Bible says that God confused their languages and scattered them over the face of the earth. Could it be that this scattering included tectonic shifts, continental drift? Some scholars even believe that the massive flood in Noah's time could have caused the continents to split, radically reshaping the earth and burying Eden beneath oceans, deserts, or even under modern cities. So,
this guy got called out for accidentally catching something no one expected, but you won't believe what he did with it at the end, because he did exactly what you're meant to. So something was pulling the rod super hard, and he had no idea what it was. And I would bet you my dog that you've never seen what this guy's gonna catch. So his reaction when he saw it is hilarious. And it's unbelievable how the fish looks up close. But there's actually something special about it. It's really surprising, but you might feel bad for the fish. And now wait until he lifts it up. But then he did something very risky, which is that he got into the river with no shoes. So just imagine how the soft riverbed must feel when he's standing there. But this isn't a normal fish, as it can do something you literally won't believe. And he tried to put it on this ship, even though it was too heavy. But the ending is super wholesome. So you actually shouldn't feel bad for the fish right now, because there's something you don't know about it, and it's not what you think. And this was the biggest fish he'd ever seen, but you can see from how he's petting the fish that he's going to do something absolutely no one expected. And if you didn't know, this fish species can actually breathe air, so don't worry, because it isn't suffering. So he picked it up, and you won't believe what he did. So did he do the right thing? This guy got called out for accidentally catching something no one.
You're an idiot.
This right.
No, you don't. You don't do shit. You just sit there and wave a hand. 5 years ago.
Supernatural things, I guess. I mean, we've just seen too many things happen in the name of Yeshua that, you know, how do you explain it? There's something more. So,
It has to go back to Torah. Yes.
That's really why, that's the message of the Jewish faith. I know that you're Israel. In fact, we are told in 49 that the
Alright, how's the intro? Outro.
not as children, but as question, William. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you all for a great show, and Rabbi, thank you for perhaps the life of. William Hall broadcasting live from Kingsland, Texas, USA, with another episode of the Let's Get It Q&A. Rabbi, the singer, welcome back. How are you?
It's always a pleasure to have me. And as you said, my name is Toby Singer, and yours is it. And
that is for sure. That is for sure.
Sorry about your luck.
Yeah, there you go. They say that the people back in the day, even people who were associated with it, people turn around and say, I'm associated with you. And I'm telling you, Christians tremble at your name. I had a lady one time tell me recently, she's like, what are you talking about? We ain't afraid of Toby a Singer. I said, oh, yes, you are. You sure are. All the knowledge that comes from the counter-missionary world is horrifying, and you are by far the leading counter-missionary, and everybody knows that. And so, like myself, when I first heard of you, I was like, oh no, I'm not listening to him at all. He's going to lead me astray. And look what you did.
What
Look,
you thought?
I did, yeah, absolutely, and you did. You led me astray.
But you thought that I would lead you? I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
So, your beliefs in Christianity, you felt were fragile in the sense that you were open to it?
We were taught as Christians, there's things you couldn't watch, you couldn't listen to. Like, for example, there was two movies, for example, that Tom Hanks played in. I forget what they were called, but one of them, it was about exposing the Catholic something or other. Angels and demons, things like this, and those types of things. Oh, you should never watch that kind of stuff. That's evil. It'll twist your mind, twist the way you think. And then whenever I was in Bible studies before, I would try to bring up things that I would talk that I learned in the what do you call it? Like the Gospel of Thomas, those type of things. And they would, and they would be like, oh no, we don't talk about that kind of stuff here. You shouldn't be reading that, those type of things. And they would, and they would be like, oh no, we don't talk about that kind of stuff here. You shouldn't be reading that. And I'm like, so anything that went outside the baseline of Christianity, we were guided against. And so I was groomed that way. And I've been to a lot of churches, and so whenever I was presented with your name and who you were, I was like, oh no, that ain't happening.
Yeah.
I was like, that is not going to happen. So.
Right. So that, yes, I was more dangerous in the Gospel of Thomas.
Oh yeah, you were like at the time, yeah. When I found out about you, you were like forbidden fruit. And then last you got called you a fruit, and they showed me.
Yeah. Okay, great, yeah. So Gospel of Thomas you think would be pretty innocuous, but all right, fantastic. So we're going to be speaking about, we're going to examine, John MacArthur is one of the most, prolific authors in the evangelical Christian world.
possibly the most well-known. His commentary on the Bible is extensive. I think he's published or co-published about 150 books. He's really a very well-known guy. And moreover, his views are very mainstream among Protestant evangelical Christians. He's also, his views, his theological views, he's a dispensationist, premillennial Christian. And what that means for our purpose is not the premillennial part, but it's the dispensationalist part, which means that he does not believe in replacement theology. That's what's germane to all of this. So this is a person who we would say is friendly to Jews. That's going to become really important, because in this video, he talks about his view of the Jews, God's promise to the Jewish people, and what does it take to be saved. But rather than me speaking, I think it's a really good idea to hear it directly from him. Let's go to clip number 1.
Very good. God has brought Israel to a place right now where they are enjoying the fullness of his blessing. They can't, because they've rejected his son. When Jesus said at the end of his ministry, your house is left to you desolate, you didn't know the time of your visitation. Their back is still turned to their Messiah. They still reject the Messiah. I think in that sense, Israel has a measure of vulnerability. Look, there are generations of Jews who have died and perished in hell, and there are going to be more until they turn to their Messiah and believe in him. Israel is protected in a measure and absolutely preserved as a people until the future day of their salvation.
Wow. Yeah. So what he has said, and again, this is a friendly Christian, what he has said is that the Jewish people who did not believe that Jesus is the Messiah went to hell. Conversely, those who do believe in Jesus are going to heaven, or went to heaven, which would cause anyone to scratch their head and open up a Hebrew Bible and ask himself how frequently in the Jewish scriptures, throughout the entire corpus of the Hebrew Bible, throughout 306,757 words in the Hebrew scriptures, do we find the commandment that, remember that when the Messiah comes, make sure that you believe in him and you don't reject him. After all, according to John MacArthur, not believing in the Messiah when he comes would send you to hell, and believing in the Messiah would send you to heaven. Now, you'll find that kind of an idea in the Christian Bible, but throughout the Torah, we have multiple passages that prohibit cross-dressing, that prohibit eating cockroaches, that prohibit eating pork, multiple passages on this. How frequently do we find such a commandment that literally heaven and hell stand in the middle? You think it's all over the place. As it turns out, there is not a single passage in all of the Hebrew scriptures that says that when the Messiah comes, make sure that you believe in him and you don't reject him. Isn't that odd? There's not one verse in the entire Tanakh that says that when the Mashiach comes, make sure that you embrace him, serve him, and don't turn your back on him, because if you do, you're going to go to hell. Okay? Now, why doesn't it say it anywhere in the Hebrew Bible? Well, the reason is that when the true Messiah comes, everyone will know the truth. The knowledge of God will cover the world as the water covers the sea. Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 14, and virtually the same passage appears in Isaiah 11, verse 9. Moreover, it's not the Jews that will reject anything. It's quite the opposite. It's the non-Jews of many languages will come to the Jew, grab his shirt, and many non-Jews have said to me, I'm grabbing your shirt, I'm grabbing your tzitzis, and say, Nelcho imochem ki shamanu Elohim imochem, Zechariah chapter 8, verse 23, let us go with you because we have heard that God is with you. Think about this for a moment. If the Jews are wrong about the most important decision in life, and that is to believe in Jesus, why would the world be coming to the Jew at the end of days and saying, surely we've inherited lies and vanity wherein there could be no truth? How can a man make unto themselves gods when they are not? Jeremiah chapter 16, verse 19-20. So to sum this very important point up is, according to John MacArthur, and this is, again, really very mainstream, and you find it in the New Testament, Mark 16:16. This is what he is saying. He is not like he's some oddball or weirdo, and he didn't say that about Jews going to hell because he's someone who's anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish. He's none of those things. So he's a mainstream Protestant. He opposes the Pentecostal one, but he's a mainstream evangelical premillennial dispensationalist. I think he calls himself a leaky dispensationalist, but he means he believes that Israel is preserved by God and enjoys special blessing by the Almighty, as explained as the Hebrew Bible says, that the children of Israel will be there till the end of days. And he believes that. So I have to tell you, just a segue here, it's very frequently people send me videos of Christians who really hate Jews and say things that are really quite unflattering about the Jews, and they use the Christian Bible to demonstrate that the Jews are replaced, and they say, do a video to show why they're wrong. And I can't, because they're reading it correctly. Means the Christian Bible has many unflattering things to say about Jewish people, and those fundamentalist Christians that are fiercely anti-Semitic and draw their conclusions from not only the Christian canon, but the patristic fathers from the church fathers, who are all virulent anti-Semite, they're actually reading the text correctly. But John MacArthur is not that guy. But theologically, the key is theologically, every Christian has to ask the question, if in God's salvation, his salvific economy, if everything comes to salvation, his salvific economy, if everything comes down to believing in Jesus, if you believe in him, you're saved, and if you don't believe in him, you're damned, and you're going to hell, as you heard MacArthur just say, then why isn't there a single verse anywhere in the Hebrew Bible encouraging us to believe in the Messiah when he comes? As I said, there are many passages in the Hebrew Bible that proscribe cross-dressing and eating insects and other unclean animals, but not that. There should be a verse somewhere in the Hebrew Bible that when the Messiah comes, make sure that you accept him and you don't reject him. By the way, why isn't that an important commandment? Why doesn't it say it in the Hebrew Bible? If we could just set John MacArthur and the church aside and mainstream Christianity aside, think for a moment, why in fact in the Hebrew Bible doesn't it say that when the Messiah comes, make sure that you accept him and you don't reject him? I would think, from a Jewish standpoint, that would be a really good idea to accept the Messiah, and it would be a very bad idea to reject him, right? I mean, just ignoring Christianity for a moment. Well, the answer is very simple. The answer is that when the Messiah comes, the events that will unfold will be so transparent, it'll be so clear that the Messiah is here, it'll be impossible to reject him. When Mashiach comes, everyone will know the truth, from the least of them to the greatest of them, declares the Lord, Jeremiah 31. And for that reason, no one's going to have to teach anyone about God. It's built into the system. So unlike the claims of Christianity for Jesus, that he was born of a virgin, How would you know that today? It's a claim about Jesus, setting aside that Matthew misquotes Isaiah. Let's just ignore that. If Jesus wasn't conceived to a virgin, we'd have no way of knowing that today. If Jesus was not born in Bethlehem, as is claimed by Matthew and Luke, just forget about that. Micah chapter 5 is ripped out of context and sliced in half in Matthew 2. I want to ignore that. So all the things that we are told that Jesus did, like rose from the dead, but let's say he didn't rise from the dead. Let's say he wasn't born to a virgin. Let's say he, wasn't born in Bethlehem. You'd have no way of knowing that today, right? But all the things that the Messiah is supposed to do in Tanakh clearly are things that if he would have brought about world peace, universal knowledge of God, the ingathering of the exiles, the building of the temple, the resurrection, that we would all know about it today. That's why there isn't a commandment in Tanakh that, remember, when there's world peace and the ingathering of the exiles, the building of the third temple, make sure you don't reject the Messiah. It wouldn't be there because it's actually built into the system, and these are things that are completely falsifiable. Unfalsifiable claims that's the hallmark of religion that's vacuous, okay? So it's very important. So here's a mainstream guy expressing things that are right down the middle Christian, but in fact, there's no commandment like that in Tanakh. Why? Because if a person performed these things, if someone from the house of David brought about the Messianic age, everyone would know it. So there can't be a commandment, don't reject him, because you can't reject him once the Messiah comes. Let's go to clip number 2.
But it is when that salvation comes that all the fullness of the promises given to Abraham and David and reiterated in the prophets and the new covenant passages in Ezekiel and Zechariah and Jeremiah, that all explodes on them when they turn to the one they pierced, mourn for him as an only son, and a fountain of cleansing is open to them. But it is when that...
So this is very intriguing. So what John MacArthur is saying here is that at the end of days, means in his view would be the second coming, Jesus finally comes and the Jews recognize the one whom they pierced. This is mind-blowing. And again, he's staying loyal to his own commentary on Zechariah 12, verse 10. See, but what is intriguing is that in his view, the Jews at the end of days, like let's say like now as an example, when Jesus makes a second coming, they're going to look upon him whom they pierced. Do you get where this is going? That means in his view, the Jews are responsible for killing Jesus. They will look upon him whom they pierced. And that's his commentary on Zechariah 12:10. Despite the fact that according to the book of John, chapter 19, verse 34, and most importantly 37, but that's the context, 34 through 37, that passage, which is misappropriated, is speaking about those who saw Jesus after the crucifixion, when the Roman soldiers didn't break his bones, but rather did a post-mortem check on him to find out if he was dead or not. To fulfill, in verse 37, they will look on him who they pierced. The book of John changes the pronoun. So according to John, Zechariah 12:10 was fulfilled 2,000 years ago. Now, whoever wrote the fourth gospel is ripping Zechariah 12 out of context. And my friend, the book of Zechariah is not an easy book. It's only
2, 3, 4.
It's not the easiest book to understand. It's not incredibly difficult, but it opens up with 8 visions that are need to study. It requires a little bit of work. It's nothing. But there is a chapter 12, which is really easy to understand. Anybody can just open up Zechariah 12 and read it, and you'll understand exactly what it's saying. You wouldn't even need a commentary. It's just very straightforward. Jews who return to the land of Israel, Jerusalem is over the status of Jerusalem, and that's the mother of bad ideas. He's going to heavy burdensome stones to all those who come against it. The Almighty will strengthen the Jews, even the weakest of them will be like David. The angel of the Lord of hosts sees Zechariah chapter 12, verse 7 and 8. V'hoya v'yanagu advakish la'ashmi es kol ha'goyim avoyim al Yerushalayim. And it'll come in that day that I will destroy all the nations that come up against Jerusalem. Okay? But the Hebitu Elai, they will look to me because of the ones who were pierced, who were killed, and they will mourn over him as one mourns over a firstborn son. So there's a tremendous trauma. But when does this occur? This occurs at a time when the Jewish people are victorious and destroy their enemies. Zechariah 12 is an end-time prophecy when the true Mashiach comes, and an event that must occur before the Messiah arrives, a precursor to the coming of Mashiach, is that the Jews return to the land of Israel. The Messiah is not here yet, but the Jews must return. This is the end of the book of Amos. That's chapter 9 from 14 to the end. The Jews must return, and there is a war against Jerusalem. Jerusalem is the issue. It's very, very clearly there. The reason people don't know this is they don't read it. And the reason the Mashiach is not here yet, and this is a precursor to the coming of Mashiach, is that the Mashiach comes, there's no war. So this happens immediately.
Even though it's not winter.
But there's a tremendous trauma that occurs in that moment, and that triggers a unity among the children of Israel, a mass mourning among the children of Israel. I've told you that I believe that's what happened on October 7th, on that dark Simchat Torah. I believe that. And it's not just I believe it, it's because of the text, and there's a tractate, Megillah, that tells us that the end-time war actually begins on Sukkot, and we therefore read Ezekiel 38, 39. So, I want to get back to where we are now. That is, it's so weird. There's an end-time war. It's not something that happened 2,000 years ago when the Jews did not defeat their enemies, when Jerusalem wasn't successful in repelling her opponents. And 2,000 years ago, the Jews were crushed like a gnat, and the temple was destroyed, not built. Ezekiel 37, verse 26, 27, 28, and the whole end of Ezekiel from 41 all the way through 47. So the key is that again, I want to reiterate, MacArthur is his views are one that is positive towards the Jewish people. Despite this, he believes that Jews who didn't believe in the Messiah went to hell. Despite the fact there's not a single verse anywhere in the Hebrew Bible that says that when the Messiah comes, believe in him. And the reason for that is that when the Messiah comes, everyone will know the truth. And they'll come to the Jews to say, teach us more, because now we know that God is with you. And why at the end of the day, in his view, would the Jews say, would look upon him, meaning Jesus, whom they have pierced? I wasn't even a neighbor at the time. No Jew alive today was responsible for killing Jews. But here's a guy who has a favorable view towards Jews in Israel, yet he didn't pull it out of thin air. I'm not putting on someone who has a terribly unfavorable view towards Jews, but this is in fact Matthew 27:25, where the Jews say that we take his death upon ourselves, and his blood is in our children as well. So he's building that in. So it's really mind-blowing. And let us pray that people return back to the Hebrew Bible, study, sweat over the Hebrew Scriptures, learn about the magnificent events that will unfold, as we are told in Isaiah 2 and 11, Ezekiel 37, that all the nations will speak, B'safah Beruda, with a pure speech, Zephaniah, who lived right here in Jerusalem, chapter 3, verse 9. Amen.
Okay, very good. All right, Rebel, we've got some colors in, but most pretty much everything is falling through there. Different things with Midrash and things like that. So I really want to encourage the callers to call in with you guys have questions. So let's see what this one is. We'll take this one live. Call you live on the air. Go right ahead with your question.
Hi, good morning. I just have a question about the Jewish soul.
Okay.
I heard rabbis say that if you convert, that you have a Jewish soul unlocked. Is that true? And how does that work if you have no genealogy to support that?
Okay. Go ahead and ask me if you answer.
Thank you.
That's a really great question, and I want to parse it out a little bit, because there are two ways you can convert. And people are going, what do you mean? Okay, so the Jewish people, we're an ethno-religious group. We're both a nation and a faith. There are many people who convert to Judaism and join the Jewish faith, but they don't join the Jewish nation. We call them Noachites, B'nai Noach. There are people, however, that join the Jewish nation as well. They join the Jewish people. And typically we call that converting to Judaism, but the word Noachite is an anachronism, and most people don't understand what it means. In both cases, you're converting to Judaism. Now, the question, of course, becomes is, how could you join a nation?
You gonna give that to me?
I understand how you can embrace the Jewish faith, that monotheism that begins with our all the way back to Adam, Abraham, and Isaac, and is carried on through a special family. So I can understand how I can worship the God of Israel and convert to Judaism and faith. But how do I join a nation? How do I say that I am a son of Abraham or a daughter of Sarah? How do you change your ethnicity? So in Jewish thought, people who feel a calling to convert to Judaism. So when I'm using that term right now, I mean joining the nation and faith. It means that they always had a Jewish soul. They really are, in a very simple sense, descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And it's interesting, in our sacred literature, even in our legal code literature, like the Shulchan Aruch, when converts are described, they're described as converts who convert. Gershon is Gayer. That means they always had a Jewish soul, and they were just drawn to the people of Israel as well. The nation of Israel is given a special soul for what reason? To be superior to others? No. To enslave the world? Of course not. To go without any discomforts? We might be the most hated nation on the planet. To make movies in Hollywood? Hardly. To file tax returns? No. The role of the Jew is to be an Or LaGoyim, a light to the nations. See Isaiah 49,
beautiful.
verse 6. We're Mamlechus Kahanim, a kingdom of priests, and a sacred nation. But if we're the priests in the world, who are the laity, the nation of the world? In fact, the Jews are here not as a supremacist nation, as anti-Semites frequently say, but really it's quite the opposite. The Jew is here in a sense to facilitate the salvation of the world. So you need a special neshama to do that. You need a special soul to do that. So if somebody feels a calling to convert to Judaism, to join the Jewish nation, it must be some way that they have a Jewish soul. And you said those words that I hear so often, as far as I know. I'm guessing you're an American. America is a fairly young country, a fairly young nation.
45, 108. 50 and 100.
Probably come from somewhere, I'm guessing, from Europe, failing probably from Europe. Europe is just one big battlefield. And most people just don't know very
Motherfucker.
much about their genealogy, the country,
You little
the
bite.
nation they actually
Oh,
come
it
from.
bites.
There's so much
Bloody.
homogenization because of trauma and massive wars that really don't know beyond the third, fourth, fifth generations that don't know where they're from. So, as it turns out, if you feel a calling to convert to Judaism, which means join the nation, and it's a feeling that is so embedded in your soul that no dissuasion from a rabbi prevents you from that path and let them, that you know that once you've completed
Fucker,
your
should have
conversion,
dropped off.
that in some way in history, that you always had that unique soul to rise up to the mandate to be a light to the nation. Okay? That means you always
Oh, you
were. And
fucker.
that's why
You idiot.
if you ask people who have converted to Judaism, why
So
did you do it?
stupid.
Usually
Stupid.
look at you like, because that's what I want to be. That's who I am. I
I
don't
listen
want
to
to be
music.
anything else.